Hello everybody, welcome to Deluxe Collectibles, and today I'm going to be doing my reaction and review for Hilda Season 2 Chapter 8, The 50-Year Night. If you would like to check out my reaction to this episode, you can be sure to go down below to the top of the description of the video where you'll find a link leading you over to Google Photos where you'll be able to view my full uncut reaction to the episode. And I know I am very late to reacting to kind of the second half of Season 2 of Hilda, but I took a bit of a break because of course I've been focusing my content more so on Lego currently, but I wanted to kind of revisit this just to kind of finish it off because I felt bad that I never actually finished reacting and reviewing all of the episodes. So now I'm back here and we're going to be reviewing and reacting to this episode. Of course, the reaction portion, as I said, over on Google Photos, but I'm going to review the episode here and I want to do it in less of a recap sort of format because I feel like when I look back at my original reviews for just basically anything, I kind of just find that I recap the episode. It isn't necessarily like bad the way that I'm doing it, but I just kind of feel like I just go through the plot and it's like, yeah, well, if you're watching this, you've most likely seen the episode or watched my reaction with me watching the episode. So I'm going to assume that much and we're just going to kind of talk about my positives or negatives with the actual episode, which honestly, there are none of with this actual episode here. I thought this was fantastic. I'm just a really big fan of Hilda in general, the series, so I don't really find too many negatives or complaints with the episodes, but this one was especially good because basically it picks up with Hilda being grounded by her mother, Joanna, and she of course thinks that, okay, it's gonna be a very boring day, but then she actually winds up seeing her neighbor, Mr. Austenfeld, and I know right now it seems like I'm giving a bit of a recap, but don't worry, it's going to play into my opinion of the episode. And basically we see that he is able to kind of time travel, or he disappears initially, then Hilda goes downstairs to the lobby of her building to kind of try to find out what's going on, and she picks up this digest book, opens it up, and it winds up transporting her back in time to a certain period. So I thought that was really interesting, definitely a very sort of clever form of time travel, I would say, because we're going to jump around a little bit here, but basically by the end of the episode, they wind up destroying the means of time travel because it actually ties in to that Austenfeld in the past is basically trying to revisit this moment in his life when he met this woman who he fell in love with but never had the guts to actually ask out, and then never wound up seeing again for the rest of his life. So he has this regret, and that's why he keeps traveling back to this point in time, and Hilda wants to help him, of course, kind of recover that lost love. So she's trying to help him out, and she does wind up being able to get at least a version of Austenfeld to be with this woman, and we find out it's actually Tildy, which is really cool, of course, the witch that is training Frida. So I think that was such a cool way to sort of tie it in, and I really did enjoy that aspect of it, but the way it sort of ties in as well to kind of canceling out the ability of time travel, because of course whenever you introduce that into something, I feel like it can semi-break the universe a little bit just because of how powerful time travel is. Of course, you just think you can just prepare any sort of mistake, and you kind of have to build in certain rules to kind of like allow for there to not be anything like this. And it's not even what Tildy does, but of course they have to deal with the time worm throughout the episode as well, which is of course a massive danger, and if you make any sort of even minor change, it seems like it'll just go after you until it gets rid of the anomaly. So that also kind of prevents them from going further with that, but also Tildy was the one who basically enchanted these digest books to be able to transport him in time to that moment, hoping that Austenfeld would go back, get this thing, and then transport back so that he would be able to redo this moment, but just a little bit sooner in life. Then of course now they're older, so they can't really go back and make this change, but I thought that was really smart because then by the end of the episode, she does wind up kind of eliminating that sort of time travel ability from those digest books. So I like that as well. I thought it was a smart and creative way to do time travel, and then a smart way to cancel it out at the same time as well. And the episode just had a really good emotional sort of impact as well. It told a very intimate sort of love story between two characters, especially Austenfeld, someone who we really hadn't been too much introduced to previously. We knew of him, of course, as Hilda's neighbor, but never really knew much about his character, and I didn't think that we really would learn much about him, but I love that they were able to flesh out a character like that, and now I actually care about him and kind of his future, even though I know we might not revisit it at any point, like soon at least, but I think that it is still cool how they were able to make me care about a character that I didn't previously. So that was interesting. Fleshing out Hilda as well was really nice. So we get some moments with her, of course, throughout or near the end of the episode, I suppose, because that's when she more so comes into it as well. And I thought the action in the episode as well was really well done. It definitely ramps up quite a bit, of course, to kind of contrast on how Hilda was like, yeah, it's going to be a pretty boring day. But then it definitely does not turn out to be boring by any means. And I thought the Time Worm was just so cool. It was legitimately awesome and just so amazing. Well, amazing sounds kind of weird using that word to kind of describe this, but how it was basically like taking out the alternate versions of Hilda and Ostenfeld. I thought it was so cool. So serious as well, like in a sort of way. So I like that as well. It showed that there were stakes within the episode. That was kind of like what happened with David, of course, in the one with the Vikings, basically, and where he actually winds up being killed, of course, but then is brought back. So I think that's definitely really cool. You get to see that there are stakes here, but there's just smart ways to sort of reverse it so that we can set it back to sort of the status quo of the series, but it still kind of affects the characters as a whole as well, just not as permanently as actual death. But I thought it was just really smart how they did that. And then by the closing of the episode, I really like the conclusion because Tildy has the opportunity to kind of like, she sees Ostenfeld and gets to briefly meet him, and he introduces himself as Peter, which is why I was just referring to him as his last name, but his name's actually Peter as first name, of course, and she introduces herself to him and he does to her as well. But then she doesn't go after him. She says to Hilda, don't worry, we've messed around enough with time. It just has to kind of happen more naturally, I suppose. So it makes sense. And also they're at an older age. I mean, they might not be looking for that so much so at this point in their lives, but it was still kind of a nice moment where it wasn't like she immediately drifted towards him. She actually just took a moment, and now we'll kind of see if that relationship does wind up evolving at some point in the series. But it was definitely really great, a kind of cool self-contained story that was also just a really impactful one as well, that made me care about other characters other than Hilda as well, while still involving her, of course, very deeply within the plot. So it was a really fantastic episode. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Be sure to let me know all of your thoughts on this episode down below in the comment section, and also if you did enjoy this reaction and review, be sure to leave a like on the video. Also subscribe as well if you want to see my other ones. I'm going to finish Hilda season 2, I promise you that. So we're gonna get through it, and I hope that you're here with me on the way to that. So I do apologize once again for the huge hiatus in between the last episode review and this one, but hopefully we'll be back to it now. So just thanks so much. I'll see you all next time, and always remember, keep on collecting.